Hey guys, so before we get started, I want to just point out something that should be pretty obvious. Um, this is everything in this video is my opinion. I'm just stating my opinions on the matter as someone who is not qualified to talk about ARB, as I just recently started really playing it. My only experience before 3 days ago grinding ARB was playing air vehicles and ground. So my knowledge of radars and whatnot are a little finicky. I'll link to the videos that I use to help me understand them in about 15, in about actually about an hour and a half when I finally figured it out. But I just wanted to point out first that this is my objective opinion. Is That's it. All right, let's get into the video. All right, guys, it's Ashton here. And today, as you'll notice in the background, we have background footage. I'm trying this out. I've never really done this before, so I'm hoping it'll work. This video is going to be split up into sections because I don't like script anything, so I have to think about what I'm going to say before I record it and say it. So this is going to be the first section. This is going to be talking about like a disclaimer for new players. I personally love the F4s. I bought the F4s because I wanted a top tier plane that I could bring into top tier air or ground RB because, well, if you've seen my content, I'm a wallet warrior. I mean, it should be obvious. I've got premium account. I've had premium account pretty much since I started playing the game. I'm like addicted to this game. I love playing. Um, but if you're a new player who says, "Oh, look at this shiny jet," I want it. There's some things you gotta know first. Um, Number one being, it doesn't matter what anyone else says. Take it from me, unless you're like an Ace Combat legend. I've always sucked at air games, air combat games. So I know speaking better than most. Getting into top tier ARB was very difficult. Of course I had the SU-25K, which yeah, MEA-10. I didn't know how to. I still don't really know how to play those two aircraft. The SU-25K is a whole nother bag of worms. That if you're curious, I'll do a breakdown of those two vehicles as well. I wouldn't mind. Um, but with the F4S, the main thing you need to keep in mind as a new player, someone who is buying or any top tier jet really for this matter, is you are probably going to die a lot. And I mean a lot. Um, it is not an exaggeration to say that the best way to learn in War Thunder is trial by fire. Eventually, you'll get it figured out. Now, there's some things that are a little bit obtuse, and I'll have links to some videos. I think I have like 5 or 6 videos. I can't even remember how many, 5 or 6, that are going to go over some things relating to not just the F4S. I think there's one guide for the F4S specifically, one or two, but the other ones are like all the sidewinders compared and a couple of things that'll be helpful for you in top tier. But as a new player, keep in mind you are going to die. And you may be TK'd for buying a premium jet. This is just how it is. And you'll have games where you do absolutely nothing, or you could have a game, your first game, you could go on and you could just become Top Gun Maverick and get an ace. It's all, well, in my opinion, random chance. Because you never know how a match is going to go until it starts. Okay, so now this is the second session. We've switched over to live footage. So these are the loadouts for the F4S Phantom. I'm sure if you've looked at the plane extensively, you've probably looked at all these. And if you're new to the game, you may not know what half this shit means. Hell, I'm in like rank 5 aircraft, and I still don't know what half the shit means. So, but I'm just gonna go over the lineups that you can get. The basic lineups that you have are the air targets, right? You can carry your 6 AIM 7F Sparrows or 4 Sidewinders. Now, the main thing to keep in mind is you can carry 4 Sparrows and 4 Sidewinders, but I would highly advise against this. I did that for a very long time. You'll see a lot of my loadouts for like custom games and just even when I was trying to grind, just by going for bases, have these extra Sidewinders. And frankly, this is probably 100% copium. I fucking hate AIM 9Hs. I do not like them. I probably wouldn't mind them nearly as much if I didn't buy a top tier jet, because my first experience with with a Sidewinder was the AIM-9L, which I had no clue was the best Sidewinder in the game until the AIM-9M. Um, but for the lineups, the base thing, you really always want to carry the gun. I'm personally dog shit at getting gun kills, but if you get better at it and learn how to like aim your nose, you can get 4 or 5 kills a game if you're good enough with the gun. And you always really want to carry your sparrows. Now, for grinding purposes, usually what I do is I will carry, because for a base, what you need is a stack of 57 rockets and a stack of 38 rockets. That's all you need to kill a base. You can get one base kill, and that gives you about 5 to 6 KRP. And that's, or if you wanted, you could run full load, and if you use them properly, you can get 2 bases. But I much prefer to go with just the 5 sparrows and the rockets. I don't even bring sidewinders. They're rear aspect, I do believe. Um, yeah, those are the rear aspect missiles, which means you can really only use them when you're behind somebody. And they don't have a whole lot of pull for an 11-3 aircraft. They have 18 Gs, which well, I say for an 11-3 aircraft, I have no fucking clue. Um, but I much prefer to just bring out the sparrows. Um, Now, with the sparrows, if you notice, if you hover over them, there's SARH, SAR, band, signal, as opposed to Sidewinders just being relatively simpler to read. So Sidewinders, AIM-9s are IR guided missiles. So you just find a heat sig and you lock on and you just fire it. It's relatively simple. It's just literally like 2 button presses and you have fired a 88 kilogram missile at a plane. Whether it hits, well, may God guide your way, I guess. For the sparrows, these are radar guided, so you need to know how to use your radar. Now, don't do what I did. Do not just forego watching any tutorials. I did not even realize that my plane had fucking pulse Doppler radar until 3, 4 days ago. 4, I think, at the day of recording. Granted, I've been up all night, so fuck if I know what day it is. So yeah, if you learn to use the equipment you have, you'll do much better with it. But I use this loadout to grind bases because you can get a base kill and you can still guarantee, with me, I can kind of partially guarantee a kill with a sparrow because I'm absolutely fucking atrocious. But that's fine with me. I don't really care. I just want to have cool top tier jets, right? So if you're like that, then sure, maybe get it, but also maybe wait till it's on sale because it is a $70 plane. I mean, $70 doesn't really get you a whole much anymore in the economy, but I mean it's still, I mean that's what, like the Ubisoft pirate game that's dog shit that came out or that's in beta. I think that's probably like a $70 game. Granted, if it's between that game and this plane, you should probably buy the plane or save it. It's always a viable option. But for loadouts, personally, I don't really like bringing bombs because they're just fucking heavy as shit, and the F4 is decently maneuverable at low altitude. I don't ever climb. I've seen F4s climb, and it always makes me go, what the fuck are you doing? Because, yeah, sure, you have a 40 kilometer lock range missile, or whatever the fuck that is in miles. I do not care. No, I don't know what a kilometer is. But the problem with that is I've learned that you really want to stay low to the deck. You don't want to really go too high, especially at the start of the match, because space climbers will just, well, as their name say, climb to space and just rain hell upon you. It's not exactly the most fun experience, but if you stay low to the ground and use your pulse Doppler radar, you can kind of sort of get kills with the radar with the missiles. I'm not going to really touch on how the radar works probably, because that's a little bit Like I'll give you a quick tip on the controls to do it really quick, actually. So if you go into controls and you go to weaponry, the things that you're gonna want are switch, not this one, change radar IRST mode, radar IRST beyond visual range combat mode, which is BVR, change radar IRST search mode, and change radar IRST scope scale. So, and of course, you want to have your ability to lock targets. That doesn't look right. Anyway, but yeah, those are your main controls. I'll go ahead and tell you what they do. So Alt B was the default key, I think, for mine. It's how you switch from normal pulse to pulse Doppler. The difference between pulse and pulse Doppler is a whole bunch of things, but mainly pulse Doppler isn't confused by ground clutter. So you can effectively look at somebody who's near the ground and your radar won't go, oh, there's no fucking guy over there. You can see him. Although the one thing you have to worry about is notching, which is flying at a perpendicular angle to the aircraft. That will cause your pulse Doppler to lose track. I don't know about pulse. I frankly, normal pulse radar is so god awfully frustrating that it's just not worth using because it just eats chaff and will just send your missile to bumfuck nowhere because of the chaff. It also just again doesn't like ground clutter, so you usually always want to use pulse Doppler. And beyond visual range combat, I can actually show you into a game here. Actually, I probably should do this just for namesake. So you'll notice that my default radar setting is SRC. Now you can change the rectangular box radar in the settings, but if I hit Alt B, you'll notice it changes to SRC PDV HDN. Right, so this is in it's like pulse Doppler velocity. So let's see if I can get behind this guy. It actually may be too close for me to lock on. But this is the the search radar. Now there's a whole bunch of different radar modes, but I'm just going to go over the main three. There's this one, which is search. There's ACM, which is incredibly helpful. This is aerial combat maneuver mode, I think is what it's called. Now I'm not sure if it's going to let me lock here, but you'll notice this giant bounding box. Let me just... Okay, I guess it's just not going to let me lock. Let me just... Wow, I might just be retarded. Oh, wait. Right, so that is... Ah, I see I made a mistake with my keybinds. That is why it looks so weird. Because it is goofy. Why did I change that? When did I change that? Anyway, so onto search mode. You'll notice that little box with arrows. That is the enemy. Well, it disappeared. Of course it did. But aerial combat maneuver mode, to search to get a target with your search radar, you have to wait for him to ping on your scan, your search, and then you hit your lock radar on target IRST key, and it requires you to have a lot of an extra input. But with aerial combat maneuver mode, or this little box, it will auto... That flashing green light means that it is automatically looking for radar targets. So if I might actually be able to get him here. Maybe, maybe not. Wow, I guess not. There we go. So then you launch your missile. And with a radar missile, unlike an IR missile, you have to keep your radar pointed in the direction of the guy. So basically, point, direction, bad guy, die. There is a thing called... oh, I already forgot what it's called. Oh yeah, cranking, which is I do not know how to do. But it is like maneuvering but keeping your target within your radar scope. The other mode to note is a HMD, which is helmet mounted display. So you notice if I hold C or my free look key, I can move my radar around in a field of view. So you can use this to lock onto targets. You can also use it without holding C. You can use it to lock into targets going into turns, which, you know, if I could lock anything, that'd be nice, but, like, I'm dumber than a sack of shit, so it doesn't work. It does not like to work on these aircraft here, but normally it's much better than this, but those are the three radar modes. The main one you want to use is search, or the ones that I mainly use is search and aerial combat maneuver mode, because it allows me to just monkey brain just hit my X key and fire a missile. But yeah, on to the next part. Okay, now we get on to the big question. Is the F4s Phantom worth it? Well, it depends. If you're looking to buy a top tier jet to grind America with, yeah, well, in my personal opinion, yeah, I love the F4. It's surprisingly maneuverable. Yeah, surprisingly, because I originally thought I was going to move like a damn brick. It is literally just a missile bus, kind of. It gets BVR, it gets a really good radar, really good missiles. It can carry a decent payload, and if you play ground like I do primarily, you can also use it for strike aircraft capabilities because it can carry rockets, bombs. Primarily, it can carry Zunis, which are insane at ground targets. Zunis are good for ground. I would not take Zunis into air. I tried killing a base with Zunis. It was not worth it at all. It was, like, depressingly bad. But now the next question is, what do you want the F4 Phantom for? Do you want the F4 Phantom as a plane, like because you like the F4 Phantom, but you're worried that you might not want to grind the entire tech tree, or do you want a Phantom, or do you want to buy the Phantom so you can get like the F14 Tomcat or the F16 or the F15 that they just added or the Aardvark? So if you want it to grind the American tech tree, I personally love it as a grinder. I do believe it has the highest RP gain. I personally don't like the F5C, and I can't really recommend the A10 to many people because the A10A early premium. It's a good plane. You get 480 countermeasures, which is fucking ridiculous. 240 pops of flares and chaff, but it's very slow. It only gets 2 missiles, but it carries good bomb loadout, so you can go bomb the shit out of bases. You can get, I think, 2 or 3 base kills very easily, because you can get 2 base kills guaranteed, because you can carry, yes, you can carry 6 2,000 pounders, and 3 2,000 pounders will kill a base. Guaranteed. Oh, hopefully guaranteed. It usually does for me if I land them all. But if you say just want an F4 Phantom because you like the Phantom, you could buy the, there's a British Phantom. I don't know anything about the British Phantom. But if you're not interested in like Tornadoes or Harrier, or Tornadoes or like the Gripen that they just added, if you just want a Phantom for the Phantom, I would personally recommend the Japanese Phantom. For the main reason of it being, it gets better missiles. The Japanese Phantom actually gets AIM-9Ps, which have 20 Gs of pull, which is slightly better than the AIM-9H's stroke. They also get better Sparrows. They get the AIM-7E Sparrows. They only have, the AIM-9Ps only have 20 Gs as opposed to 18 Gs, but that extra 2 Gs can make a difference, probably. I am also just aware that this is like the best Phantom in the game, and also a neat little tip is if you play Japan, if you grind, they get their F-15J has something called the AAM-3, which is a 40G IR missile, which I'm pretty sure is like the equivalent of the Russian R-73, which is just a whole bunch of bullshit is what that missile is. Yeah, it's the American NATO equivalent to the R-73. It gets 40 Gs of pull. It's pretty good. But if you want like just a premium aircraft to play, personally, or if you're just like, I've got money to spend, I want to buy a plane, I can't recommend going to top tier. It is a very steep learning curve. I went from flying the uh, JU-87 G1 or JU-87 G2 to the A10, and I got my shit stomped in because I pre-ordered the A10 when it came out. Because like, that's a fucking A10. That's the coolest shit I've ever seen. Then I bought the SU, then I bought the MiG, then I bought the F4, then I bought the Phantom. And it just, as someone who has gone from top tier to high tier very quickly, in ground it can be a little confusing because of all the new mechanics. In air, it is a whole nother ball game. So just keep that in mind when you buy it. This isn't a video saying you should or you shouldn't. It's just considering the facts. Should you buy it? That's what you want. That's what you need to know. Should you buy it? Does it work for me? There's all sorts of premium aircraft you could buy. If you want something that's relative to strike, you could play the A60 Tram. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know anything about the aircraft. I don't have it. But yeah, I hope this video was helpful. And I hope the links in the description will help anybody who's decided to buy the F4 Phantom. Or, hey, if you're just getting into top of your air and you're... Alright, guys, that does it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope it helped. It probably didn't. There's probably tons of videos done better. I'll probably link a couple that are done 100 times better than mine, but I figured I'd just put my 2 cents in as someone who has played the F4 and who found a lot of help from the videos that I watched. I feel like maybe more people who buy the F4 should know about those things. Or it could just be that I'm stupid. That's always the case.